Chapter 6. This Rock is Ours. Frank Morris's famous escape revealed something that many already suspected. Alcatraz was falling apart. The salty air had damaged the concrete. The cell house wouldn't be safe during an earthquake. The rock was due for some very pricey repairs. And running Alcatraz was expensive enough already. All supplies had to be brought in by boat. It cost the government 3 times more money to keep an inmate at Alcatraz than at U.S. Penitentiary Atlanta. In the autumn of 1962, prisoners at Alcatraz started getting moved to other federal prisons. On March 21, 1963, the final 27 prisoners left after lunch, which lasted exactly 20 minutes. Warden Olin G. Blackwell kept things on schedule to the very last day. The warden invited members of the press to cover the event. It was the first time since the Battle of Alcatraz, 16 years earlier, that outsiders had been allowed inside the prison. As the last prisoner left the island, a reporter asked him how he felt. "Alcatraz was never no good for nobody," he said. The mayor of San Francisco asked for ideas for what to do with Alcatraz now that the prison was closed for good. The people of San Francisco had never liked the gloomy prison in their backyard. Many wrote to the mayor. One idea was to build a statue of justice to match the Statue of Liberty on the East Coast. Another was to turn Alcatraz into a casino. A rich oil tycoon from Texas wanted to build a theme park and a shopping center complete with restaurants and a 364-foot tall space tower. While people argued about what to do with the rock, a group of Native Americans calling themselves the Indians of all tribes claimed that Alcatraz belonged to them. They were led by a college student named Richard Oakes, who said that a treaty signed by the U.S. government in 1868 gave them ownership of Alcatraz. The Indians of all tribes wanted to occupy Alcatraz to raise awareness of how their people had been treated for so long. As early as the 1890s, Hopi Indians had been imprisoned at Alcatraz. Their crime was refusing to send their children to government schools, which were often very far away from home. In 1953, the U.S. government passed a law to begin closing reservations, the lands where Native Americans lived. More than 100,000 Native Americans were moved against their will, sent away to live in big cities like San Francisco. Native Americans were losing their way of life. On November 20, 1969, the Indians of all tribes arrived on Alcatraz. Soon, 100 people lived on the island. At times, there were as many as 400. For a year and a half, they lived on Alcatraz. They made plans for a Native American university. They wanted to tear down existing buildings and replace them with a large roundhouse made of steel, glass, and redwood. They published a newsletter. Supporters sent them supplies. A teepee was erected. Fires for cooking food burned in the yard. Even though the protesters were eventually removed from the island, their actions inspired others. Evidence of their time on the rock remains to this day. After the occupation of Alcatraz, the U.S. government changed its policy toward the Native Americans. They recognized the tribes' right to self-rule. In a strange way, going to the island prison helped free Native Americans to decide their futures for themselves.